Okay, so here I am out in the middle of a place near Hamilton / Dundas, Ontario. Just checking on YouTube that this is actually up. So it is. I will turn the volume down and keep monitoring it. I have bicycled. My bike is sitting over there on the ground out to this spot right now, and I'm streaming live to YouTube, something I have a great deal of interest in. Let me introduce myself very quickly if you found yourself on this channel right now. My name is Kyle Andrew. I've done a lot of stuff in media. I currently host a few sports shows for a company called Bet Rivers, a sports gaming company. And I am out here today testing remote broadcast equipment, specifically the Sony PDT-FP1 portable data transmitter. Can't begin to tell you what the FP1 stands for, but I wanted to come and do a live stream to YouTube right now and just sort of make note of the differences between this setup and others. So I'm going to go over very quickly which equipment I'm using right now, and I'll be very thorough about that. The tripod's not super duper important. It is a carbon fiber MiPhoto portable, fits in my backpack, which I bicycled here with. I'm using as a camera a Sony A7IV, and I have it connected via HDMI to the Sony PDT-FP1 data transmitter via HDMI, if I didn't say that already. Audio, I'm using a DJI wireless mic connected via USB-C to the Sony. More on that a little bit later. I have an Amaran Ace 25 Lite putting a bit of fill on me right now, and it's making it very difficult to see the screen if I'm being honest with you, but that's okay. I'm just going to check battery life on the various devices. Things should be just fine. So this device is connected to a 5G connection, which is allowed me to completely bypass using a computer. I essentially have on a tripod right now what used to be done by an entire production truck. I should be getting a pretty good data rate. I'm pulling the data through at 8,000 as the bit rate is set to. That's 8,000 megabits per second. The reason I'm using all of this equipment is for this ultimate control over the picture quality. Like, the first thing people would ask for something like this is, why don't you just use your phone? And it's an excellent question in this world right now, where a phone has so high quality for these types of things and a built-in cellular connection. Well, there's a number of reasons why I chose to do it this way. And here is reason number one. With this setup and a DSLR, I can more finely control the image, brightness, contrast, and stuff on the go with things like the circular polarizing filter that I just, the circular neutral density filter that I just twisted to adjust the light and allow the fill light to kind of light things evenly. You can't really do that on a cell phone. I mean, you can install those on a phone, but there's just much less precision, fine-tuned control. And if I happen to be outside at night right now, say outside of a sports stadium, I simply could not get the low light performance I could get from a camera like this. The problem with that is, well, how do you get this camera online live to the internet, to a broadcast, to a live stream, to whatever it is similar to what I'm doing right now? That is a very good question. You have to hook it up to a computer typically, and a computer has to have some sort of an internet connection. Whether or not you're in a Wi-Fi zone, which is never great, but this is not that much better, right? This is just 5G. Or whether or not you have a wired Ethernet connection, you could do it that way. But then you have a bulky computer, you have a camera going to that, you have to have somewhere that has an internet connection. This internet connection is built in. Now, today I have found some limitations. This is the third time I've stopped and attempt to find a good signal to do this. There are limitations to cell phone coverage. They simply don't provide as much in areas like this, where there's just less traffic staying still. People hiking in the woods, they don't necessarily need to be on the phone, although there's a debate to be made in today's world whether or not that's even true. But the signals tends to be weaker. Now, this device very specifically has a different antenna array that allows for a stronger signal gathering. But in days and spots where like TELUS or Bell or Rogers or AT&T or T-Mobile or whoever you're with simply does not provide satellite coverage because of lack of population density, a better antenna setup is not going to get you a better signal when you're trying to do something like this. I'll have more on that later because I have another device on the way that I'll be testing on this channel in the future in order to see what is actually the difference between. I'll get to that in the future. I don't want to ruin what's on the way. So when you're out here, when you're doing this sort of thing, all of this on a very small tripod setup to get a very high quality shot. replaces a phone from a signal point of view, number one. The antenna strength is a big number two. And the antenna type is a number three, because if you're in, say, a hockey arena, a baseball stadium where there's thousands and thousands of people all attempting to use their phone, they're all calling to the same satellites on the one of 2, 3, 4, 5 cell networks available in the area. Everyone's trying to get onto that same connection, and it'll just bog down. It'll be slow. It'll be laggy. This provides a clearer signal in those scenarios. Still not perfect. Nothing is perfect, but this is better for redundancy. If you're actually doing a broadcast, like if you're upgrading your Instagram story, it can wait. If you're doing a broadcast to a network or to a YouTube channel where it's timed and it's important that you get your connection set, you have to find different ways to get your connection. This is one of those ways. So let's talk about some other advantages to doing this and how it's specifically done. I have chosen not to use the camera software, the Sony PDT software, to go straight to YouTube, because I ultimately wanted more control over my feed. So how this is actually working is it's using very clever browser-based software called VDO Ninja, created by this awesome dude named Steve, which the company that I consult with uses for so much of our broadcast work now. It's basically a virtualized production studio environment, completely free to use, complex to learn, but once you've got it, it is the most dynamic tool in broadcasting I've ever seen in my life, and he doesn't charge anything for it. It's free to use for all people, but more importantly, what's happening is my studio at home is left in a broadcasting environment. I'm using VDO Ninja to send the signal back to my home. It's going back from my home to YouTube, and I'm able to control that production software at home called OBS to start this live stream whenever I damn well saw fit. And I obviously scheduled the 3:45. Let me tell you about the optimism built into that timeline today. It doesn't matter. Not many people are watching this live. This is basically just to prove a point. I'm gonna kind of see how long I can go, how long I can talk. From what I see right here, it actually is looking pretty good. So let's talk about, very quickly, back up. Another bonus of using a DSLR is I can just reframe the shot on the fly. What if I want to go a little tighter on myself back in here? There we go. Different framing. It still looks good. And I can very easily adjust the light, but I'm looking at on YouTube. I think the polarizing filter may be a little smudged. Maybe a little smudged. I apologize if this is lacking critical sharpness, but that's okay for now. So where was I? The software. It goes from this device, which is an Android base. It's basically a cell phone on mega steroids. You have an Ethernet jack to hardwire into it. You have a USB-C charging port. You have a USB-C data two-way port, and you have a HDMI port. Clean HDMI signal out from the camera, 5G signal from the sky. Here we are live on YouTube in this particular case. So this device runs on Android. I open a Chrome browser with a very specific link with a bunch of instructions that sends it back home, controlling my data rate. I've got data rate markers all over the screen. We are getting an exceptional signal at a bit rate of 8,000 right now. I imagine many of you watching this have no idea what those numbers mean. That is okay. It is not that relevant. I'm just going to kind of check on the audio here. It's not as lagged as I thought. I think I put it on the lowest latency, a second lowest latency setting. There was no need for ultra. This is not mission critical right now. So that goes to my production software at home. What are the use cases for something like this as opposed to the alternative? Well, if you consider, even if you were to bring a laptop to interface this stuff to go, you still need some sort of an internet connection. This provides all of those devices in one. A modern device like this one particularly here is more than capable enough of transcoding this video, sending it through a stream, maintaining its connection, so on and so forth. Let's talk very quickly about this device, because there aren't limitations of it, but it does feel in some ways like a rushed product. But I think when Sony built it, they didn't realize the breadth of ways in which people would end up using it. So I had to do some workarounds to get this to work correctly. I was unable to connect these wireless mics and its receiver directly to the camera in a way I normally would, because for whatever reason in the Chrome browser on the Android device, it is not recognizing the audio from the HDMI input. I then connected the receiver via USB-C directly into the Sony PDT. It did not recognize it that way either. I then used a cable to connect the receiver into the data port of the Android device, the Sony PDT-FP1, and it went haywire on the receiver. It kept flickering on and off, didn't work. So then I thought of an old trick, an old workaround. I had a Belkin 4-in-1 USB-C to 4 USB-C port hub. I plugged that in, I plugged the receiver into it, and bingo bango, she works just fine now. So I am doing an HDMI video feed combined with a USB audio feed coming from this mic to that receiver. Pretty straightforward. Once you've got it set up, it's all sitting right there on top of the camera cage, which is a small rig in case you were wondering. So that setup is actually quite forward. This all fits in a relatively small backpack. But let me tell you, the places I was biking today, a lot of uphill spots. And I'm a big lad as it is. That's a double XL frame on that YT Industries bike. And pushing the extra 20 to 30 pounds that backpack probably weighs, it might not be that heavy. I should check that when I get home, even if it's only 20. Yeah, you notice it going up those hills, but that is okay. I'm kind of rambling on by design right now because I am trying to see how long I can maintain a broadcast quality connection like this. So the Sony device has that limitation built in. Secondly, its own built-in software, which they make to go to, say, YouTube, for photographers. I haven't tested any of the photographer software to FTP upload. Like if you were, what these devices are also for is if you're a sports photographer, mission critical, you're at the Super Bowl, direct FTP connection right to the newsroom so they can get the images online, blah, blah, blah. We're using it something completely different today. But as you can see it, and on YouTube, it does seem to be working flawlessly. I've been going for, I'm not entirely certain how long now, but I hope you can hear all the nature in the background, because that's one of the benefits of doing this type of thing on location. And maybe if I go super wide, you can see what kind of spot I'm in right now. That's kind of fun, right? How, again, this is the advantage of using a high-end camera. You can change the shot, you can make things look however you see fit. You can be very comfortable moving in and out, adjusting the exposure, and so on and so forth. That was not a bird whistle. That was definitely a human being. There's like a family coming around the corner. So I'm trying to figure out what else I should be discussing at this point, because my plan for this channel, which is not a tech channel, but it may very well become a tech channel because I love this stuff, is to keep testing these types of environments and use my mountain biking excursions as an excuse to test. And, you know, you could make the argument that bringing this technology out in nature is besides the point, but if I do happen to expose people to this via this means and it gets them out in nature and they don't bring a backpack of a production studio, then I've accomplished something. And so nature's going to be the spot, but it won't be the only spot. I will find a lot of different places in which I can try this out and just see how this software goes. And it's like, I won't always be mountain biking in an Eddie Bauer flannel shirt, but I'm glad I did today because the breeze is quite heavy. And it got a little bit cooler once I started to sweat than I expected it to. So well planned, Kyle, well planned. So what to expect to see in the future? More of this, more technology, more ways of getting online, more ways of practicing getting online and doing this. And there's a family looking at me like I'm nuts, because I am. This is a very unusual practice at Princess Point here. I might even be upsetting people. I don't know. I don't see why, but here we are. So you'll see more of this in the future. I want to give a big thank you to Steve Sagan. Steve, I hope I'm saying your name correct. He is the creator and founder of VDO Ninja, and I've been working with him for the last week to iron out some bugs and how this all goes down and get this able to remotely control OBS correctly from my camera, start and stop, record, do all of the things. And he's been a tremendous help. And he himself is very curious about this device I have from Sony here. So I'm going to be reporting back to him and letting him know what how it performed in the field today while I was live streaming from this type of professional camera setup, as opposed to, say, just the cell phone. Further to that, I would like to thank absolutely no one else, because it was just me and Steve that did this, mainly me. Steve was a big help on the software end, the hardware end. I had to save up my allowance and pay for all this stuff myself. So it's worth it though, because I love being outside. I love being able to share this. And I don't think all of these rants are going to be so tech heavy, but I wanted you guys to know and see what it was I was actually doing. And if you find this because you're interested in this equipment, please feel free to ask me questions in the comments. I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. I've only had it for less than a week, so it's important to understand I'm also still learning how it works, its limitations. I will be in touch with Sony directly with some things I've discovered about it, because I'm not sure how many people are using it for this use case, but it is a brilliant device to do this with. I don't know how much left I have on my parking, but I think I've proven my point that you can go quite long without any sort of connection disruption. This has been maintaining an absolutely flawless speed here. So what ended up happening today was there was a couple of much more serene, let's say, spots in which I would have loved to go live. But if there's no cell phone signal, there's no cell phone signal. And all the antenna setups in the world simply will not grab what is not there. So behind me, you can see one of the busiest highways in the area, unfortunately. But it seems like it's far enough in the background that I can probably get away with showing it to you that way. And hopefully it's not picking up much of the noise. It's behind me and this mic is on the front. Probably getting a little bit of breeze, but I have this furry thing, which is kind of oddly known as a dead cat, but it works. I hope that little child didn't hear me say that, because she's going to be asking, Daddy, why is there a man with a dead cat strapped to his chest? And that sounds like season 5 of, what's that show? Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I can't remember the name of it. I've been ranting for too long. It's very odd to stand here in nature and talk to yourself. So I'm going to cut this off. Thank you if you do watch this. Please, if you have questions about any of this hardware and how the setup works, fire away in the comments. Happy to help you out to get more people on this stuff. And I can't wait to put this to real professional use somehow. We haven't quite figured out how we're going to do that yet, but maybe there will be some sports broadcasting remotely on location. I feel like I should be doing this standing somewhere in Costa Rica. Maybe the powers that be will pony up for some sort of a travel job, a travel coverage job. Because again, this is a global device and all you need is a SIM card wherever you go. Or 2. It is a dual SIM card device. I never mentioned that. But it doesn't do something that's ultra important when you have 2 SIM cards. There is no cellular bonding technology like Speedify built in. Has that been a problem right now? No, it's not. But why would you want that in the future? I do hope they release a second version of this device down the road. Even though this seems fairly slapped together, it works great. I don't know if they'll do a second one, but why would you want a bonded connection? Well, I'll tell you why. Right now, I'm connected to a very good 5G connection on the TELUS mobility network here in Canada. The problem with that is TELUS has a cell phone problem. I guess I'm SOL, right? I have no signal. So you would have a second SIM card, but you don't want it to be TELUS. You want it to be on another company like Bell or Rogers, whoever uses different satellites. The device is set that when one fails to jump over to the other one, but ideally you'd want those bonded the way Speedify technology works in order to make that fully redundant the entire time. So if one drops out, your signal really never loses. You set a priority, you set a secondary one. That is not to be right now, but that is okay. I'll talk about that more specifically in the future. And I'm going to shut this off now. I do thank you for tuning into this. It was a lot of fun. I had an awful lot of fun doing this today, and I hope that I get out soon to do it again.